Since the last time I interviewed, which was a good 5 or 6 years ago, at least now, Zeus died, and
Yeah.
you were in charge of Zeus,
Yeah.
which a lot of fans might not know, on the road
Yeah.
in WWE because for whatever reason you guys got along. How
Yeah,
did
we
you
did.
take that death?
That wouldn't bother me because I had always wanted to talk to Zeus again. I always wanted to just, how are you doing? And I never took the time because I knew he wasn't going to find me. I just knew better. I knew he would talk to me. I knew we would have a good conversation and it would be fun. Yeah, but I never took the time. And it kind of bothered me for a little bit after that. But it is what it is. I mean, when it's time, sadly. So.
And he's another guy that I'll say there's not a lot of them wrestlers that are genuinely nice people. I mean, I did an interview with him. And then most wrestlers or actors or stuff, they're not going to acknowledge you again after. But I happened to be in the same restaurant later that night that him and his girlfriend walked into. And he came over to me with his girlfriend, introduced his girlfriend to my
Yeah, that was him.
girlfriend, said, "Thank you again for the interview." And I'm like, he could have just ignored me. He got his money. He was never going to see me again.
Yeah,
But that
that's
was
him.
really nice.
That was him. That was him. I mean, he stood up for me a couple of times when he didn't have to. And it wasn't like I had done anything wrong. It was just, well, we're going to fly you here or there real quick and fly you right back out. And he's like, I don't go anywhere without him. And things like that,
Could you share any of these other stories about him?
Well, I've told the red car story there. He wouldn't get in the red car. I've told that a few times, but it's a true story. He would get in the red car.
And that was due to I forget if it's crypt or blood affiliation.
Yeah. And that was my whole thing. We're going to upstate New York. I just don't think anybody from Compton's going to see you. And this was in '89, so there was no social media. We didn't have cameras in our pockets and that sort of thing. So I'm like, just get in the car. It was a long story, but I've told the story in a few places. And that one, the night I scared him. I scared him one night, and we were in Newfoundland. And we were driving back, and there was a moose in the road, and then there was a logging truck in the road, and I was finding ways around them. And he's like, if you don't slow down, what are you going to do? You're going to jump out? About that time, a Mountie pulled us over. And the Mountie didn't give me a ticket because he recognized Zeus. But he told me to get off his island as soon as possible. And Zeus said, thank you, we will. So things like that. I was always messing with him.
Zeus in Newfoundland. What the hell was he doing in Newfoundland? Was wrestling WWE was going there in those days?
Yeah, we were in St. John's.
Was he on the road for house shows then? Because that couldn't have been a TV taping.
Yeah.
What was he doing? Just enhancement matches?
There was like a 6-month period where he just showed up whatever town he was promoting the movie and the pay-per-views. We would show up in those towns, and he would do something during the middle of the show. Yeah.
How was life on the road with him when in those days when you're going literally in the middle of nowhere, St. John's, Newfoundland?
I didn't have issues with him after about the second week. The second week, he tried me a little bit. I guess he just had to see where I stood and where he stood. And when we had a come to Jesus meeting, and I'm so grateful he didn't follow me out to the parking lot because I probably wouldn't have survived. We never had another crossword. And it didn't matter where we go. He'd just crawl up in that car with me. Where are we going? I'd tell him. He said, all right, let's go. And that was literally the only problem I ever had with him was he didn't want to get off the phone. And, we would need to be in the building, like say 6:30 or whatever. And it'd be 6:15 and the building is 45 minutes away. And he was still on the phone. That was the only issue I had with him.
You have any idea what he'd be making for those shots? Would he be getting paid off the house? Because that doesn't seem like it'd be enough for a guy like it.
He had a guaranteed deal. Yeah. Cool. I don't know what his original guaranteed deal was, but I know what it was for the last pay-per-view. The one in December that they just created out of thin air.
Yeah, the steel cage match one.
I know what that. I know what's payoff.
What was that?
It was 6 figures. I'll just leave it at that. It was 6 figures. I don't know what he was making prior to that, but he was making a per diem, and he was obviously it was pretty good because he kept coming back.
Yeah, I mean, he's one guy that people don't give him enough credit. I was a kid back then, but like he was over. People were talking about him in school. Like he was as over as any other heel
If
at
he
the
wasn't
time.
over, why did they just add an extra pay per view? Just out of thin air. Here's a new pay per view. If he wasn't already over, uh, I sat in on the meeting because he asked me to sit in on the meeting in which Pat offered him a deal to go on the road as part of the crew starting in January, which would have been 90. And he's like, no, I'm like, my acting career is, I've got offers and I just can't do it. So you can't tell me he wasn't over between the
Isn't
pay
it?
and the fact that they
Didn't they
offer.
want him WrestleMania 6 or something?
I've heard the rumor. I've heard the rumor that was why they were going to put him on the road so they could bring him back to the WrestleMania. I've heard the rumor, but I do know they wanted to put him on the road in January of 90 as part of the crew, working, not just making appearances and stuff.
So I guess you would have been in the gym with him too. What kind of weight was he throwing around?
He wasn't as strong as you'd think, but he was no weakling either. I mean, he was benching like 300 every workout for reps, that sort of thing.
Did you have to deal with fans on his behalf too? Because I imagine like he would stand out in a crowd. He
Yeah, he's
has
still out in the crowd. I mean, there's no missing him. But no, because he was smart. He was smart to that. I say hello, goodbye, but I don't stick around. I keep moving. We go to the car. We go to the building. That sort of thing. Yeah.
And I gotta ask you, why do you think they haven't put him in the Hall of Fame? Because there's a true celebrity that belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Unless there was some heat behind the scenes later that I don't know about. I honestly don't know. I mean, you make a great point. I mean, you got Pete Rose in there, and he didn't do a damn thing. Uh,
And Drew Carey, like, give me a
yeah,
break. I mean,
thing. I don't know everybody else that's in there right now, but you got guys on the celebrity wing. They didn't do it. They didn't do anything for the office. Zeus helped them make money in '89.